How's it going, good people of the internet? Welcome to my channel, Sterling on Cinemas. That's Cinemas with an S. And today I'll be giving you my review and my take on The Dark Knight Rises. Before I begin, if you are new to this footage, don't forget to like and share, subscribe, and leave a comment on the section below, and watch carefully. You don't want to miss anything. And click that bell so you can keep up to date with every important update I bring in the future. Let's begin. And don't worry, I have a mask on throughout most of the video, because if there's anybody that knows how to socially distance and wear a mask to protect the people around him, it is I, Bane. It has been 8 years since Batman, in collusion with Commissioner Gordon, vanished into the night, assuming responsibility for the death of this man, Harvey Dent. Batman sacrificed everything for what he and Gordon hoped would be the greater good. However, the arrival of a cunning cat burglar, Selina and I, the merciless terrorist Bane, forced Batman out of exile into a battle he just may not be able to win. First I break him, and then he watches, along with the world, as Gotham burns. Now, after watching this movie, back to back with the rest of the Dark Knight trilogy in the Christopher Nolan series, it is great to see how The Dark Knight Rises brings everything full circle. Even though the League of Shadows don't play an integral role in this entry, well, at least not as much as the people who are fulfilling their destiny, it is fitting to learn that the descendants of Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, whichever is better for you, whichever one you prefer, are trying to finish what he started. This is what the entirety of the trilogy revolves around, with the way Batman was created out of the shadows and how he came to be an elemental symbol of fear. Now, as you all know, throughout the Christopher Nolan series, I personally try to observe the concept that the film is tackling. And I believe that the movie takes Batman to a place to remind him that we will inevitably fall so that we can rise again. Because if you recall, in Batman Begins, his father and Alfred did say, why do we fall, Master Bruce? So we can pick ourselves up again. And this movie really lives up to that statement. He falls into the pit after losing to Bane, only to come out stronger than ever before. And of course, this is evident with the piece of foreshadowing that helps us to understand how Batman will be able to defeat Bane later and take back Gotham and complete his father's legacy, while at the same time get as to why Bane became the way he is. And he been through a similar situation. He went through a similar situation. He came into the pit a weaker man, and he came out a stronger man, and with the mask to repair that face of his. The characters. After completely watching the Dark Knight trilogy with a complete awareness, I have really enjoyed the way Batman has been portrayed throughout the movies. Like, I used to question when I was young, before I understood how Christopher Nolan rose as a filmmaker, I used to question why Batman was so laid back and so, I don't know. He wasn't my favorite Batman back then. And at this point, I won't say he's my favorite Batman appearance wise. I like Ben Affleck's look better as Batman. But as far as the context of the character, what he stands on, Christian Bale captures that perfectly throughout all three of these movies, and including this one. I love how they have strictly stuck to the non-executioner role of Christian Bale's Batman and everything in between, from his fearsome appearance and his wide array of gadgets, which is something they do definitely get right with the gadget variety in this trilogy. I will say that the only thing I don't like about this Batman is just the way he fights. Like, I will admit, his fighting, even though despite getting training from the League of Shadows, which is a highly trained, sophisticated martial arts team or group, if you'll say, his fighting in these movies have been very sloppy. Like I'm not saying they're sloppy because you can't see. I'm just saying they're sloppy because it's not as fast and it's not as agile and it's not as fluid as Ben Affleck's fighting style or Robert Pattinson's fighting style in the later movie coming up that just got delayed again. I'm sorry. But aside from that, I also love how these movies have included several of Batman's rogues gallery, such as Ra's al Ghul, Scarecrow, the Joker, Two-Face, Talia al Ghul, the Falcone crime family, and everything in between, etc. Now, the Joker may be Batman's greatest enemy throughout the mythology of his world, but Bane is the only person who was, is, and always will be the only person capable of breaking the bat. Now, the type of character they made Bane in this movie is just like how they made the Joker the last entry. They simply crafted him as a terrorist instead of giving him a Venom and junkie appearance. Honestly, I would have looked better in that appearance with the pipes going through my back and the luchador mask and breaking the bat as many times as I could. Just like I mentioned before, Bane goes through a situation that Batman gets himself into later with falling only to rise out. Just like I mentioned before, Bane goes through a situation that Batman gets himself into later with falling out of the pit. The thing I love about this is not just the parallel between their dilemmas, but how Batman gets himself into the same situation that he was in when he was young. Like I said, he fell into that cave of bats, and he came out of that cave stronger mentally, but not physically. But in this case, when he went out of the cave, the bat cave, the first time, he was motivated by fear to get out of the cave. But the second time here in this pit, he is pushed by anger to take back the city that he is sworn to protect and that his family legacy stands on. Now, this video can't go on without giving credit to Anne Hathaway's version of Catwoman. I will say, she's not better than Michelle Pfeiffer. Let's get that over with. She is not better than Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer was born to play Selina Kyle, but she was very convincing through her attitude and sly nature. She is not much of a jewel thief like she is in the comics, but another vigilante in a way. Also, I can't go through this video without mentioning how it may not be a very Christopher Nolan's take on Batman may not be very comic book-ish, but more stuck to the realistic crime nature of modern society. It also has a couple of references to Killer Croc and Mr. Freeze and Detective John Blake being nicknamed Robin. Sound familiar? Rotten Tomatoes gives The Dark Knight Rises an 87% score. Now, The Dark Knight Rises isn't the best in the trilogy, obviously, but it left the series on a well-deserved note by bringing the League of Shadows plot point full circle, having almost every major character we have seen throughout the trilogy, including Scarecrow, an iconic Bane portrayal by Tom Hardy, and stakes that are high enough to see our beloved Dark Knight rise out of the ashes of his demons and the children of those demons. So for that, I will give this movie 8 SOs out of 10. Now, I will say this, I understand after watching all three of these movies in the trilogy, The Dark Knight truly is my favorite out of the three. It is not my favorite comic book movie. It's my second favorite. My biggest favorite, my most favorite is still Endgame. A lot of people can argue about that, but that's okay. So yes, The Dark Knight, the second movie with the Joker, is my second favorite comic book movie of all time. So I'll see you guys next time with my next video in the series. Bye. Yes, I was wondering when we get to the end of this. At this point, excuse me, you know, these things really do have me wondering what I should do first. Because I feel the desire to break anything that gets in my way. I don't know what to break first. Your spirit? Your health? Or this camera?